Wow, it's been a weird couple of weeks. So much has been going on, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. I mean, I don't mind being stuck at home. I'm kind of a nester, but I've been having a hard time staying focused on work, and, most of that is because of the virus. But some of it has something to do with something far more positive. By the time you see this, it'll already been out for a few days, but right now, as I record this audio, I am anxiously awaiting the release of the newest Animal Crossing game, New Horizons. Between the chaos, fear, quarantines, Borderlands 3 on Steam, dual power, and my springtime allergies starting to kick in, New Horizon continues to linger in the back of my mind, and even though I'm not really a die-hard Animal Crossing fan, it just makes me feel so happy and excited every time that I think about it. In fact, it sat so prominently in my mind for the past few days that I scrapped another idea for a video and just decided to draw Animal Crossing characters for today. Of course I needed a poll, and I thought a little bit about what crossover would produce the most interesting designs. Watching a speedrun of the first Dark Souls this morning, something clicked, and I couldn't think of a more dramatic difference in art direction than these two games. Where the Dark Souls series is gritty, cold, and colored by fear, Animal Crossing games are saturated, warm, and simplistic. I love both series, but for very different reasons. Example, nothing in Animal Crossing will ever make me actually swear out loud and shut off my console in frustration. In fact, Animal Crossing games do just the opposite. They're peaceful, relaxing, and allow the player to set their own pace for how they want to play. These themes are reflected in their character designs, and I wanted to see what would happen if I reinterpreted some iconic characters from Dark Souls in this cartoony, simplified style. I don't know, maybe this is a dumb idea, but I'm a little scatterbrained right now, and I'm sure you guys can relate. So I'm just going to throw any hesitation I may have to the breeze, play some KK Slider, and sketch up 3 Dark Souls characters in the Animal Crossing style. I hope you guys enjoy. So, obviously, the easiest character from the Dark Souls series to be interpreted into the Animal Crossing style would be Sif, the Great Grey Wolf, and he's who I started with. Sif is widely considered to be a fan favorite of the series, being a very emotionally taxing and somewhat challenging boss fight. I wondered how much of the torment of slaying a knight's loyal dog should be preserved in an Animal Crossing design, and I decided none of it. I wanted Sif to take on a whole new life as a villager, still fierce and determined, but no longer a victim of an endless cycle of death and undeath. That probably goes without saying. I paid close attention to the markings on Sif's face and stylized them in the geometric patterns found on Animal Crossing characters. I considered putting his master's sword in his hands, because he's anthropomorphized now, but holding it in his mouth is just so iconic, I had to leave it there. Animal Crossing villagers wear a top, and really nothing else, but the top can vary a lot from character to character, and it's a big part of their individual personality. I thought that even in a cutesy world of talking dogs, Sif would still wear a suit of armor, even if in this world it would really just protect him from bee stings. Anyone who's familiar with me and my art knows that this is not how I normally draw, but it was a lot of fun trying to replicate the simplicity of Animal Crossing's art direction. And it helped me think a little bit more about elements of design that I tend to omit when illustrating more complicated characters. The next character from Dark Souls that, for whatever reason, popped into my head for this challenge was Seath the Scaleless. Now, I love this character, I love his lore, his design, but this was going to be a big step from making a wolf. I was now facing a whole list of new complications for translating this character into the Animal Crossing style, the first of which being that there are no dragons in that game. Well, not technically. There are alligators, and there's one alligator named Drago, who I love, who's clearly supposed to be a dragon, so I started from there. The next problem was that Seath has a very, very intricate design. A lot of overlapping plates, ridges, and flaps. I needed to figure out how many of these would be simplified but preserved, and how many of them just needed to be left out entirely. Another big issue was that Seath doesn't have eyes. And not only does every Animal Crossing villager have eyes of some sort, But on the alligators, the eyes make up a big part of the shape of the head. I ended up converting the shape of the eyes as they appear on the Animal Crossing alligator into some of Seath's head crests, and just left him without any eyes at all. His colors were another tricky obstacle. Seath is very pale, so his colors are influenced by the light reflected off of surfaces around him. For the player encountering him in the first Dark Souls, he appears blue, and his skin is reflecting the colors of the crystals in the cave. But these lights shift and change, and sometimes he can look pink and purple too. I kind of used all of these colors and saturated them a bit to make them feel a bit more like they belonged in Animal Crossing. Seath, like Sif, doesn't wear any clothes in the game, but I didn't want a naked villager, so I gave him a top that was sort of a simplified wizard's coat and tunic. For those of you unfamiliar with the lore of Dark Souls, Seath is a dragon obsessed with unraveling the mysteries of sorcery, who betrayed his own kind in the war between humans and dragons. Again, this could not be more different from the characters in Animal Crossing. He's a grumpy villager, I think. The last character I did for this challenge was a little strange. It was hard at first to figure out how I would interpret this design, considering the character in the original game is invisible, but it's generally accepted that she is a crow. I used the giant crow from Dark Souls as my point of reference, but that's pretty much it for visuals. I imagine her just being a crow. Her, of course, referring to Cuddly, the disembodied voice that hovers around a large nest hidden near the Undead Asylum in Dark Souls 1. If you bring her certain items, she will reward you with treasures that help the player progress in varied ways. She has a very distinct personality, and is probably the Dark Souls character that behaves most like an Animal Crossing character. You know, she has a cute voice, she hangs around in the same spot, and asks you to bring her specific items. Her actual lore may be more complicated than that, but for my purposes in this challenge, I really just wanted to capture the implied personality that this invisible character projects to the player. She's demanding and stubborn, but excitable and fair. She'd probably be the peppy personality group. Designing birds in the Animal Crossing style is a lot of fun, and it's so different from what I usually draw. Cuddly out of all of these characters was incredibly simple, being mostly one color, but I gave her a little knitted sweater with a pattern that looked like glittering treasures. With a pattern that kind of looked like glittering trinkets. I want someone to mod a copy of Dark Souls so that when you get to the nest, instead of there being no character, they have just this Animal Crossing model just standing there with that little swaying idle animation that they do. Someone do that. So, yeah, this was kind of a weird video, but I had a lot of fun with it. And as you listen to this right now, I'm probably in bed playing Animal Crossing, but I think that's just what we need right now. A little bit of escapism, a little bit of relaxation. You know, it's good to be aware of the issues and stay informed, but sometimes the best thing you can do is just stay inside, pour yourself a cup of tea, watch objectively, and play some Animal Crossing. I hope you all are staying healthy. I wish you all the best, and I'll see you in the next video.